Welcome to Seeing This. I am Mike Ornelas, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the Emmy Award winning composer, Tyler Strickland. He's the creative force behind the score for John Candy, I Like Me, a documentary that just made its world premiere at TIFF. Tyler, it's a real honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the film. I'm curious just to start off, how did you get involved? How did this project come onto your radar? And once you did join, what were your first thoughts about it?
Um, well, this is the fourth film that I've done with these producers. We did a few years back. We had the pleasure of doing the Michael Jackson Thriller 40 documentary, which was about the making of Thriller for Sony. And then we did the Sylvester Stallone film Sly for
Mhm.
Netflix, which also went to TIFF about 2 years ago, I think. And some other things. And then I, heard through the grapevine that this was coming up, and the producer that I work with often, Sean Stewart, was very close. He's childhood friends with Colin Hanks, the director on this one. And he said, Colin doesn't have a composer. Like, let's match you guys up. And so we met up and kind of hit it off, and just took it from there. I mean, right away talking music. And he's a big music fan too, because like he did his last film was Tower Records. He made the Tower Records doc about 10 years ago.
It seems like a match made in heaven. I mean, you're a veteran to the game here with over 80 films and 80 films and TV series, and of course Emmy nominations. As I mentioned, Emmy win for the Netflix limited series Cat People, and congratulations on that.
Thank
And you're also a music producer. I mean, you're a busy man. How do you approach all these different projects? Is there a different approach to TV versus feature film versus documentary?
Yeah, they all have their own process. I have a soft spot in my heart for documentaries. It's kind of what gave me, a passage into this career, um, really early on. And but it has its challenges because these things take years to make. And I'll get a call about a doc, and maybe I'll write a couple of themes, and a month later, and then they'll go quiet and they'll edit for a year, and then they'll come back, and then we get into the weeds, and we go into the trenches, and we start writing the score, and it changes, and then we get notes from the network. And so it can take up to a year and a half on some documentaries, where TV is fast. They'll call you when they have picture lock, and you'll score it. You got 3 weeks per maybe a week per episode, and it's a really fast process. So uh, one like doesn't really give you enough time to get very invested, and the other one is like too much investment. So grass is always greener, but they both have their perks.
Sure.
Yeah.
You definitely in this documentary, John Candy, I Like Me, you really do seem to capture the essence and spirit of John Candy in a beautiful composition. It's a lot of composition. There's a lot of music throughout the documentary. What was that collaboration process like with Colin Hanks, the director? How did you guys kind of talk through the
Yeah.
goals you wanted to have?
Well, originally we had talked about doing a score that was more like synth and 80s, and felt kind of like of the time that John was really prominent in his career. Um, we went down that path for a little while, but it was pretty short lived because the way this film was made, we had a couple of interviews with some key subjects that were close to John, and then there was almost like this Hail Mary to get, the people that we got in the end were Bill Murray and, Martin Short, and some of these huge iconic characters that really opened up and told, some stories from their
Mm.
experiences with John that really shaped the film in a different way, and it became more of an emotional thing. And it wasn't like, oh, John's this cool guy, and he's a comedian. It's like, whoa, okay, there was this darker side to this story, and a lot more emotional. And so we started to peel back the onion a little bit on that one, and realized, hey, I think we should give this score, an orchestral approach, and
Mm.
really treat it like, John's this grand Hollywood figure. Like, let's give him a grand Hollywood kind of score. So yeah,
And then when you're making your composition, in this film specifically, like you said, it's very grand. It's very it has moments that are fun and engaging, but also very heavy. There's very heavy moments in
yeah.
John's life, and also through the documentary. When you're creating, how do you develop those different tones while still having a balance for the overall theme of the documentary?
It's a great question. Y- you know, as with any score, you have to kind of define the box, and you set parameters, right? So it's kind of like, okay, once I figure out what the sound of is for the score, I know it's on these instruments. I decided pretty early on I wanted to give John this French horn melody. And I was like, okay, let's establish that in the first 30 seconds of the film, which we did. And then that's John's sound as an individual, and it kind of comes through in the score in a lot of places. But, there was score and there was orchestral stuff, and then there was like some textures that were a little bit more experimental in the background. But like that's the box, right? And so you kind of have to stay in it. And there's a way to shape that box so that it feels a little bit more sad, or it feels a little bit more triumphant. But, to make sure that it's all cohesive, you have to stay within those, you know, you have to continue to use those colors. Yeah.
And it definitely made the film feel very intimate, as if, I was friends with these people that are on
Yeah.
the documentary, and you're just kind of talking about someone who had passed. And for as intimate as it was, I'm also surrounded by a packed theater at TIFF, watching the screening. What was your experience like at TIFF? You were there for the premiere. It had the world premiere, I believe, September 4th. It was the opening
Yeah.
premiere there for TIFF. What was that experience like?
I could not imagine a better screening. I mean, I've done so many of these. I've been to so many festival premieres. I mean, to be in a room like that, I think 3,000 people, 2,500 people, um, probably mostly Canadian, just knowing that, we were in Toronto. It was the opening night film, so it's a big deal. I mean, I went to breakfast in Toronto that morning, and I told the waiter, like, "Oh, we have, this film playing at TIFF tonight." And he said, "Oh, the John Candy film." And I was like, "How'd you know that?" And he's like, "Well, it's the only film playing on Thursday." And so it was kind of like it was a big deal in town, sort of outside of just the film festival. Like, people seem to have know about it. Um, so it really felt like a local thing in a lot of ways, which was super special. And John being Canadian, obviously, I mean, his nickname in the film, for crying out loud, Johnny Toronto. So
Right.
it felt really special. And I mean, there's a lot of clips, as you know, from his movies in our film. And I mean, it almost felt like everybody in that theater had seen every movie that John Candy's. And like when one of those clips came up, immediately people started laughing. And the joke in the clip didn't even happen for 20 more seconds. And so it was like they knew it was coming. Like, they know those scenes and they grew up with them. So it was really special and totally different from anything I've experienced. Eugene Levy was sitting directly behind me. And I mean, in every SCTV scene in the film, he was just going, "Oh man, that's what a," like, "Oh, I forgot about that." So it was pretty special.
That's awesome. I'm getting ready to turn 40, so some of, Candy's earlier stuff, specifically with the SCTV stuff, I wasn't super well versed with. So I'm like, oh, what hidden gems? So it's great to hear a lot of people that are Canadian that went to the premiere like already knew the joke.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I mean, I'm right there with you. And I think it's a great film to have in the world right now because,
Hmm.
like you said, I mean, I think people over 40, maybe 80% of his films they're aware of, they grew up with. And then there's this really strange thing happening where like people under, maybe I don't know, we could do the math, but like probably under 35 or so might not be as aware, right? And there's this
Hmm.
weird sweet spot between right now, today, like 35 to 45 people that just grew up with his films. And that's really special because I think everybody's going to recognize him from some of the key roles, like Home Alone and probably Planes, Trains. Um, Trying to think of like maybe what else would have been, maybe Vacation. I don't know, but it's good because they can go back and kind of discover some of those films they missed. Yeah.
What was your introduction? What was your first introduction to John Candy? Like what project?
Honestly, I give I give our team hell for this, but Cool Runnings was a big one.
No, for sure.
And the reason why is because we don't have it in the film. I mean, I think there's one still from the movie, but
Yeah.
I mean, I watched that film like 100 times when I was a kid. I just thought it was so different and cool and like, what is this? Um, but also, yeah, Home Alone. I mean, every line in that scene with him in the airport and driving in the car is like ingrained in my brain. I just know it so well.
And the
Um,
fact he was just firing off improv for that too, if I understand
yeah,
correctly. Like
yeah,
he
right,
that was just all him.
yeah. That's crazy. That's such a talent, And then obviously Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's classic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My co-host is really going to appreciate the Cool Running shout out, Erica. She's
Oh yeah.
that's one of her favorite movies and has quoted it while we've done episodes before, so she'll
Oh,
appreciate that.
cool. Yeah.
And that's a great point. It just dawned on me that wasn't really in the documentary, and for people our age-ish, that's kind of probably an intro for people.
Yeah, I wonder. I would have to look at the years there when it came out, but I wonder if it was in that sort of like zeitgeist of movies that he's talking about in the film, where it was like that section of his life where he was just saying yes to things and doing too many
Sure.
movies.
Mm.
It could have been in that window of time where it was sort of just a blur. And I mean, we can't cover every movie in this
Of
thing.
course, of course.
And I've done other films like, this Sylvester Stallone, and I did one on Faye Dunaway last year as well. And, it's the same thing. It was like, well, what about that movie? And, it's sort of like, oh, well, okay. Do we have people talking about it? Is there more to it, or was it just a good film?
Right, right, absolutely. Do you have a favorite either movie or performance of John Candy's?
What I mean, I would probably say Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's a classic.
I was really late to that one. I actually saw it for the first time maybe last year.
Oh wow.
And when I saw it, it just provided so much more depth to him as a performer because
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is funny, but it's a different performance.
Yes. Right.
And the fact that this documentary is pretty much titled related to the most powerful scene in that movie, I
Yeah.
think brought it full circle for me watching this doc for sure.
Yeah.
You've been super gracious with your time. I don't want to take too much more time of it. So, last question that I have that I like to ask everyone is what's an underseen film that you would like to recommend to people to check out? Or maybe since you're our first composer, maybe an underrated score from a film people should check out.
Oh wow. Well, one of my this is a weird one, but one of my favorite films is a movie called it's a little indie film, and it never really took off, but I've always loved it. And one of the reasons why it comes to my mind is when I met my now wife. Um, she was like, "What's your favorite movie?" And I said this movie, and she said the same thing
Wow.
at the same time, and I was like, "That's crazy." But it's a film called Wrist Cutters, and it's just a little indie film about the afterlife, and you know, uh, this group of people that become friends, and um, it's just really it's interesting. It's
Mm.
beautiful, and Tom Waits plays God, and it's yeah, great. It's a good film.
Fitting, quite fitting, right?
And, on the film score side, I mean, gosh, there's been so many films with great scores that I just don't think ever, the success of the score is really going to be based on the success of the film. So there's been some great scores that I'm just like, wow, that was amazing, but the film never got out there in the world in a way that kind of squashed it. One of my earlier introductions to Max Richter's music was through well, it's a German film, but it's made by an Australian filmmaker, um, Kate Shortland, I think. It's called Lore, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's a foreign film about Holocaust kind of stuff. It's heavy. It's very very dark, but the score Max Richter wrote for that was incredible, and um, it's always kind of stuck with me in a way. But yeah,
I always prompt this question to say that it's for the audience, but in reality, I'm just adding films to my watch list that I haven't
yeah, yeah,
seen
yeah.
yet.
You should. No, it's
So
beautiful. Yeah, those are
I
both.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again so much for your time. The documentary and the score behind it is incredible. If I'm not mistaken, it will be coming to streaming October 10th.
yep.
So make sure everyone to check that out. It's truly a joy, and it's very insightful at whatever level you're familiar with John Candy. Tyler Strickland, thank you again so much, and look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time.